Welcome, ladies. How are we today?
Good.
Good.
We're going to talk on our podcast today about helping our spicy kids, as we say, make friends and keep friends, and, the problems we have as parents, and any solutions you have found, or, things that have worked for your kids. All three of my kids actually have a little trouble making friends. One is very shy. One is in and out of school because they're in the hospital or they're here or there. And then my little one, as wild and outgoing as she is at home, she is super shy around people and very withdrawn. So she has trouble even in pre-K, making friends. And we all know, as adults, you have to have people support. I think it's just especially important for teens and young adults to have good support that's not us. So I don't know if any of you had any experience with helping your kids, or you have any experience where they can't make friends.
My 9-year-old, I'm going through some stuff with her right now. She never had trouble before this. She was always fine. She was pretty outgoing, friendly, kind to everyone, just an easygoing kid. This age, I don't know if it's puberty, I don't know what it is. She recently got an ADHD diagnosis, but she doesn't want to make new friends. She is not interested, because every year their cheer teams switch up because they both do competitive cheer. And she has a bunch of new girls on her team this year, and she's like, I don't need friends, I'm good. She doesn't want to make new ones. And I don't know if it's fear of rejection. I'm trying to get to the bottom of the problem. But she comes out of practices now crying because she doesn't have friends on the team, but she has no interest in making friends with those girls. So I don't know how to help her. I don't know what the root of the problem is, but I'm currently going through that right now as we speak.
Do you ever sit in there?
No, they're closed practices. I'm not allowed, but I'm close with one of the coaches, and I asked her if anything was going on, and she was like, no, business as usual. And she's been with Alex since Alex was 5, so she knows her well enough. If something was going on, she'd be able to tell me.
Yeah.
And I really don't know. And I try to talk to her about it, and she shuts down almost and just cries, and she doesn't give me any actual feedback so that I can try to help her.
That's sad.
Yeah,
I know it is.
that kids that my kids have said, I don't need any friends, and it usually means that they're really having trouble, or someone might be, bullying, or how little girls are, especially, they're talking, and then somebody thinks, oh, they're talking about me, and they really weren't, but then it starts a whole thing.
I do worry about that. She's heavier too, so I'm worried that she's getting made fun of for that. She says she's not, but in that kind of sport, she is a different body shape than the rest of them. And she's actually very good. But I just worry about that too. But she says no. I don't know. Something is definitely going on, I think, but I don't know if it's within her own self or if it's external.
Right.
Yeah.
It is incredibly difficult to make friends and keep friends, from my own experience with my daughter. My daughter with ADHD, anxiety, and, back then, even with the ODD, oppositional, I know that back then I would also have to, talk to parents of the children that she was friends with, kind of have that, talk to the parents and kind of explain a little bit. Yes, that, she has a little bit extra energy, a little bit of anxiety. Explain to them that maybe that rejection sensitivity, because I would remember her going into full blown meltdowns, right? If they couldn't spend the night, or if there was overall, feelings of rejection and things like that. And I'd be like, okay, let's go home, And I mean, they're just really, really hard emotions to experience. But I would have to have conversations with the parents too. And sometimes those relationships didn't last, right? But then when she got older, I would have conversations even with the friends that she would make long relationships and friendships with, right? And those lasted long, because they understood more of her abilities, that, and kind of like they understood her more, that maybe that she struggled with those emotions a little bit more than they did.
Right.
Yeah. I will say I have 3 boys, so it's been like very different with all 3. The oldest would keep to himself. My middle child, when he went through like up until almost 7th grade, 8th grade, middle, like elementary, it was horrible. I mean, like he would have friends, and I think with the boys in the group, it'd be like the 2 leaders and then the rest of them just did whatever and would follow. So I had to be more involved with him. And then with my youngest with the ADHD and the intellectual disability, I think I'm more involved, but he's the youngest. So I kind of have other parents, like they had siblings. So I have a few that I keep in touch and they know all about. But I'm not like, if I meet somebody else and I'm like, I will explain to them, because my son is like in your face, wants a hug, like hug before he leaves. And a lot of kids aren't like that. He's 12 now, and a lot of kids aren't. But he won't tell me anything. So, and I don't think sometimes he understands, so I kind of try to like ask questions or ask other friends and stuff to keep involved. But other than like, I worry about from now 6th grade to 7th grade is our middle school. So I feel like that's going to be a huge jump with friends, you know what I mean? Like them leaving and all the classes, and he's going to be different classes. So I'm not sure how next year is going to go. So I am a little bit worried about that.
Yeah. And we had that too, where you go from that elementary school and, you have that group where, they've been together for a while, and then they go to middle school. There's a bunch of new kids coming in. My poor daughter really suffered with that from 5th to 6th grade, because she had a really great friend. And as soon as all the schools got together for middle school, a couple of this child's like cousins came into the school. And then, of course, she was kind of iced out, and felt it was really tough, really tough. But I actually spoke with my own teenagers about this. I told them that I was, going to be talking about this topic today, and they came up with a couple of things that they've done or that their friends have done to help make friends. And both of them said, if you're a teen or preteen or teen or young adult, to join clubs that you're interested in. That no matter what your your abilities are, everybody has interests. And if you do something that you're interested in, you're likely to find people that are also interested, and you have something to talk about. My kids were in band, where my oldest daughter made almost all of her friends solely from band. And then my youngest is in yearbook and golf, or my middle child, sorry. And the funniest thing is she will not talk to anyone on the golf team, which is so funny. She's like, I love golf, but I refuse to talk to anyone. And then they said to push yourself, talk to yourself and push yourself to sit with at least one person at the beginning of the year. And my daughter said, I had to tell myself, if I don't sit next to someone today, I won't sit with anyone all year. And so she really did that. And, now she has a couple good friends.
I love that. That is awesome.
That is amazing.
Yeah. She's like, she's the one with the most anxiety. She said, just tell them to push themselves just a little, and then they said,
really solid advice, actually.
Yeah.
Like,
it is. Could we have had?
But I had that as a kid. I struggled really hard as a kid because I was shy. believe it or not.
Right.
I was a very backwards and shy child, and so I could have used that advice probably.
Just a tiny little push. And she said, pick one person and sit near them. And then they also said to tell your teachers, like if you feel like you have a close relationship with a teacher, tell them you're having trouble making friends. They might facilitate you sitting next to somebody, or, something that could help you.
Yeah. Or like the group projects or something, like
Right.
when they pair
Yeah.
you up, maybe that teacher will be aware of that. That's a good idea. I do
Yeah.
like that.
Yeah, both of them said that. So, and
Yeah.
they have little kids, tell your little kids teacher, which is like,
Yeah.
parents talk to their kids teachers. And I believe that, and I've done that. We had a little incident this year with like a little frenemy for my youngest, and she's in pre-K, and my youngest is adopted, and she's blonde haired and blue eyed, and really is, snazzy dresser, and there's a little girl there that would tell her that she wasn't pretty and she wasn't a princess, and so she would come home and say, she said I wasn't a princess and I'm not pretty. And so we had to help her use her voice in class, because at home she is wild and loud and over the top, but at school she wouldn't talk at all. So, but she worked through it. She worked through it.
Well, now we all have beef with a 4-year-old. All of us. We're all like, oh, where are we going? Where's this kid's parents? We all have beef with this 4-year-old.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's easier to reach out to the teachers too when it's like an enemy. I never really really thought about reaching out and being like, these are the two that will help him, and so that's something that I might actually add to my IEP meetings and stuff. Actually, I think that would be a good thing.
That frenemy stuff is really tough. Like,
Yeah.
really tough. Alex, luckily, her kindergarten frenemy is now her best friend. But me and the mom pushed them to be friends. Like, it wasn't organic. Me and the mom like looked at each other and we were like, they're literally the same person. Why aren't they friends? Like, so we started making them go on play dates, and then we got Heidi involved in competitive cheer. And now she's like our extra kid. We love her to death, but they battled the entire kindergarten year. Like, they would both come home and be so mad at the other one. They'd be like, she's so bossy. Meanwhile, they're both so bossy.
I feel like that's how the relationships are with our kids too. Like my oldest is so much like me, so we butt heads, and why would I want to be friends with somebody that's just like me?
Oh, it's so hard raising yourself, Amber. Like, that's a very valid point. Alex, the one that I've been talking about this whole time, that is little me, and it is a struggle. She came out of cheer practice last night like bawling, and she's super sensitive, and I'm the same way. But I don't have the patience for her behavior the way that like I wish my parents had patience for me. Frank is great. Her dad is 10 out of 10 with her, like can handle her, but he was swing shifts, so he was not available last night for the epic meltdown, and I'm like trying so hard to force myself to be like, you're fine, when in reality I wanted to be like, shut up, stop, there's no reason to cry.
Right.
I think too, sometimes it's hard because, I think it's hard when our kids are like in a learning support classroom and we're like, they're outside of like the, I don't want to say normal classes, like, they're segregated and they're taken out. And so, they're always with a different set of kids. And so I think that that's really difficult, because they have to try to make friends, with a different set of kids. And so definitely like your idea, Julia, of getting, involved with some clubs and getting involved with, something outside of those learning support classrooms, because otherwise you're not going to really get to know other, other groups of kids. I like that idea.
Yeah, I agree. What about online friends? Now, I don't know if any of you, I know Chrissy, you have little kids, but Amber, Tracy, you have older kids, and our kids game and do anime stuff. And have any of you had any experience with online friends, good or bad?
Yeah, my youngest will add, like he does Fortnite and things like that, and will add anybody. Do you know what I mean? So we have to monitor that very much. I mean, my oldest and my youngest rooms are like right next door. So my oldest can hear things and we'll go in and step in, but we have to monitor because he's like,
Right.
oh, so and so is my friend, you know, we'll tell him his name, everything. And there's been some kids that are his age that he's found that he's kept, and he's like, they go to this school and this school, and it's been fine, but I've had to remove a lot. So you do have to really watch that
Agreed.
because he
Yeah.
does not understand.
Yeah, I think that with like an intellectual disability or with, you know, some ADHD and things like that, I think that they want to believe that if they say, I want to be your friend, then they want to be your friend. They're going to tell you everything. They want to be my friend. I want them to be my friend. I believe them. They're going to be my friend, Mom. And so they want to act these people, and they're going to believe anything that they want to say, right? And so it is such a dangerous situation sometimes. And I have been involved in some things that my daughter has done that it can be extremely dangerous. So I just warn parents out there to be very diligent and to watch for those things because, you know, they want that relationships. They crave just to be liked and to have those friendships with anybody, and they just want to. They'll believe it, and so just
and
be
they
very.
don't understand like that. Like trafficking is a real thing, that there is legitimate danger. I just had to have like a conversation with my oldest daughter's friend about this because she was like trying to help some random boy she met on Snapchat with his mental health, but her own mental health isn't great. And it was like dragging her down. Meanwhile, they came to find out this was like a 22-year-old adult that was talking to her, and she's 14. She's going into ninth grade. And her mom tried to talk to her. Her mom wasn't getting through to her. And her mom was like, can you have a real conversation with her? And I shared with her, some stuff that has happened in with work cases that I've seen that is actually very terrifying, or like different stories, that I've heard from real people, real things that have happened to try to like get through to them. Like it's fine to make friends, but like you need to stay in your own little bubble almost. You have to know somebody that knows them or something rather than be like a complete stranger, because people can say they're anybody they want to say on Snapchat.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
some people are across the country.
Right.
He was in the state of Indiana, and it turned out he was 22, not 14.
He had somebody in another country, Chrissy, another country.
Terrifying, Tracy. That's terrifying.
Yeah.
So yes.
Or they ask for like money, like gifts. Like sometimes he's like, so and so said I could send them this, so I need V-Bucks for this, and then they're gonna send me something back, and I'm like, who is this? And then you have to go to their profile and stuff. So yeah. And they just want to be nice and be friends and share things, and they don't know who it's going to.
Yes.
Again, have that ability to monitor. And there was a time that we would have apps that would block and notify us when things were like downloaded, or we wouldn't allow her to like either download apps, or there's so many apps now that you can download to have parental monitor and things like that. So it is a good idea, especially with such a prevalence of trafficking and dangers of social media and things like that. It's just our kids do crave that friendships that is out there, and predators know that, and they'll pretend to be somebody that's not.
Yeah. My daughter, we kind of had to make this, we sort of made a rule because she was like, I don't want to say like disobedient, but she just thought like your daughter did, Tracy, that everyone was her friend. Everyone wanted a friend. And so we said, if you want to be a friend with someone across the world, right, you need to have video chats, and we need to meet them. we need to meet this person, and dad and I have to talk with them too. And so she did make one or two actual friends that she keeps in touch with. One was in Ireland, and she talked to this person every day, and they exchanged letters and things. So it was a positive thing for her at some points, and some points it was negative. But we the tip that I can add to what you guys put on is make it an actual video relationship where you can actually see the person and talk to the person. But yes, please monitor those online friends for kids. It is a dangerous world, and our kids think that's an easy way to make friends, right? It's very simple to reach out to somebody, via text or gaming system. And I want to make sure that parents are aware of those things and do their diligence, like you said.
Well, and I think too, Julie, I think that when we started this process, I think that I'm old school because I am older, right? And I think that, we had to change our views too, because our kids don't call, right? They text. They don't even text. They use social media as their means of communication. They don't use a regular, like, just texting on the phone. They use Snapchat only as the means of communication. And so in the very beginning, it was like, you're not allowed to use Snapchat. And they're like, but that is the only thing that my friends use. And so if that was the only thing that they were allowed to use for their friends, it was like, well, you'll have to use your regular phone. They're like, but my friends don't use that. You know what I mean? And so it's just like this cultural difference, like, of now, it's like something that's just so different.
Right. And do you guys find that they have a little trouble with decoding messages, and like they will think something is meant to be hurtful where it's not, because they are using this this anonymous and colder, less emotional way of communicating? I feel like we've had to talk a lot with my daughters about they didn't really mean that, or whatever.
Well, and here's the other thing and we're talking about friendships, and I think that this goes along with it too. I think we've also seen an increase of anxiety because of social media, and the ability to see that the friend has seen their message and they haven't replied. And so now it has induced some type of anxiety. Why have they not replied to me? They saw my message. Why are they not replying? Right. It's okay if they haven't replied. It's okay. Like, it doesn't matter if they've seen it, but why have they not replied? They've seen it. Why? And they're sitting there watching for it. And I've seen such an increase in anxiety, of worry, and just waiting by that phone. And I'm like, put the phone down. Put it down.
Yeah.
But those bubbles, now that they see the bubbles, and then the bubbles stop. Have you guys experienced that?
Yes.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Oh my gosh.
It's almost like a drug.
Yes.
Snapchat is almost like a drug. My oldest is like the most chill, laid back kid in the world. You take Snapchat away from her and she melts down. Like, it is like almost like an addiction. And I don't even know how to fix it, because like you said, some kids only talk that way. They have no other way of like communicating. Like, they don't have phones, they just have iPads and they can snap, but that's it. Like, or she would be like left out of everything if she couldn't. And you don't want to do that to them either. But honestly, she almost needs like a detox. I'm telling you, it like is bad.
Everybody does. Yeah.
Yeah. And sometimes it's just a picture, like a selfie. Do you know what I mean? That's how they talk. Selfies back and forth.
Like, it's not like good pictures. It's like a picture of my door handle in my car. Like,
the streaks. Yeah, you got to get the streaks.
I have the stupid. I like am trying. I'm like, I can't figure this out. And I've tried several times. My friend Aubrey, she's 10 years younger than me. She's like, all right, we're having Snapchat boot camp so that you know how to look through your daughter's phone. Because they have kids the same age. She just was a young mom. So she kind of like is with it with some of these slang terms too. I struggle with that. I don't know what the hell
Right?
they're saying.
I
That's
know.
actually a good idea, maybe to have us like a boot camps and stuff.
There
of
we
the
go.
That's
I mean, she did. She was like showing me what to look for, how to use it, because I couldn't figure out how to use it.
yeah.
It said
Yeah, I
elderly.
still don't understand it all the way. Snapchat.
Yeah.
I Snapchat. I actually wouldn't let my middle child get Snapchat until I guess just last year. And man, every couple of months, Mom, can I have Snapchat on my phone? Nope, you can't. Mom, please, can I have Snapchat on my phone?
It never
Nope.
stopped. It was like daily over here. She'd be like,
Yeah,
please, all my friends have it. I'm the only one. You're not
right.
strict about anything. Why are you being strict about this? And I'm like, because I'm terrified of the world. That's why. And I want to keep you safe. But it
Yeah,
is, I'm telling you, it's like a drug. And I'm a millennial, but I'm an elder millennial. I'm like at the very like oldest point, and I really can't figure it out. I can do everything else. I have Instagram. I'm fine, but there's too many moving parts to Snapchat. I can't figure it out.
yeah, it's definitely hard for us that grew up without that. You know, we made friends the old-fashioned way in school. You talked to friends in school. You did not talk to them over the weekend unless they called you on the phone.
Yeah.
You know,
Mhm.
it was a totally different thing, and it is hard to help your kid friends in this digital age.
Well, the
Yeah.
constant access is a struggle. I struggle with that. Like, because people get mad if you don't text them back right away, or they get mad if like you can't answer their calls right away. Like, I struggle with that. I have so many things that I'm involved in. I'm involved in like the kids' sports. I have a full-time job, and people think I should be accessible all day long. And I'm like, guys, I'm not taking a personal phone call during the work hours unless it's an emergency. Like, I can't BS with you because when I'm working, I'm actually working, and people don't understand that. They want
Right.
constant accessibility.
Yeah.
And that's got to be hard for those kids too, because they want to have like lives. They want to play outside. They want to swim. They want to, and if you don't answer right away, is the friend going to be mad at you? And that sucks too.
Right.
Yeah.
And I think right now what I'm experiencing too is now that my daughter is graduated, I think that, seeing friends go off to college, or, now that they'll be working, and that's going to be a completely different ball game of seeing friends leave.
Yeah.
And how do you make friends in a different capacity now? That's going to be completely different. You know what I mean? Because now you're outside of high school, you're in the adult world. How do you make friends in that capacity? That's going to be something that's going to be even harder.
Yeah.
And she may not have access to her friends as often as she would want to if they are working or things like that. It might be tough for her because she won't have as much communication with them now that they've all,
Yeah.
moved on from high school.
Yep.
Yeah. I have told a lot of my parents that have that, that I'm working with that have that issue. Have your kids volunteer, animal shelters or food pantries or, things like that where they can meet people.
Yeah.
And they're doing good stuff.
Yeah.
I,
Yeah.
and I'm trying to get my daughter to get a summer job. And I'm like, you're going to meet lots of people at work. That's
Yeah.
how adults are friends. These days you meet at work.
Yeah.
No,
Oh, I think you can encourage them also to like when they're thinking about like with your daughter Tracy, when she's thinking about her friends, you can send that text message. You know what I mean? Just wanted to let you know I'm thinking of you. You know what I mean? It doesn't have to be you just waiting. They haven't texted me. You know what I mean? Just let them know and they'll get back to you. That's what I tell my kids all the time. Like, and that's even in my personal life, what I try to do. Even though I'm busy, I'll be like, hey, I was just thinking of you, just to kind of try to keep that friendship.
Keep it going.
Yeah.
Well, I think you guys have had some great ideas and great experiences, and I think I think our kids are lucky, and parents who are listening, their kids are going to be lucky because they have some ideas, and um, you try to encourage, and if your kids are having a lot of trouble, or they're having any other struggles, you can reach out to us as well. An FSP would be happy to give you other advice that maybe we didn't touch on here.
Yeah, and I think me being like, even if you're an introvert parent, you have to get out and you have to talk to those parents, and it does help. I think even after, like, I always get nervous when I'm meeting people and stuff, but I've forced myself to, because then my kids, I know the parents, and then I can meet the kids and see how they are and know and interact with my kids. So I think even getting out and talking to the parents is really good too.
Yeah, a little modeling goes a long way. I'm the same way. I don't love to talk to people, but I feel like for my kids' sake, I'll do it.
Yeah.
We don't have any introvert parents that work at the Parent Alliance, so it's fine.
Yeah.
I'm an extroverted introvert. Everyone always thinks that I am extremely like extroverted. I am in fact not. I'm just, I don't know. Part of it's nervous energy. That's like nervous talking. It's not so much.
Well, thank God, because you were the first person that talked to me out of the whole team when I first got there, and I was like, "Am I in the right place?" And you're like, "Oh yeah, this is where we're supposed to meet." And
Well,
you and Jill helped me settle down and be ready to
I'm
meet
just
everybody.
awkward, and but I don't want anyone else to feel awkward. So if I sense that someone else feels the way that I like feel, I immediately jump into like mom mode, like, "Oh, you're feeling awkward. I'm feeling awkward. Come be my friend."
Yeah.
I did that to Amber too. I'm like, "All right, hi, come on, come be my friend.
Just be my friend.
We can be awkward together. It's fine."
Yeah.
All right, ladies. Well, thank you for being here and talking about making friends, and we'll get together again soon to talk about some other fun things that we're going through as parents.
Thanks for hosting,
Thank
Julia.
you.
We appreciate you.
Bye, guys.
Bye.